Hey guys, this is Eric again. I want to talk today about the fuel lines on the cs2410. This is a 5/16 ID, nylon braided. At approximately about 450 hours, my fuel lines right on the other side of this frame were leaking fuel. I was getting a spot around in this area right here, and by the next time I mowed grass it was back, and I had some over here on the concrete. And that's when I discovered these fuel lines were soaked. And after some investigation, and never really could find where the fuel was coming from exactly, they just were soaked. And because they're braided, they just wick up the fuel, and it's kind of difficult to figure out exactly where. I understood that you can use baby powder and throw it under there. I did that. Never really led me anywhere, just other than it was soaked in fuel. So I decided to replace the fuel line. And what I wound up going with on the spur of the moment, I don't know if I regret it or not, but I wound up going with, I guess what you would call a standard fuel hose, 30R6, and you'll only really need about 10 feet, but go ahead and get 12 feet. This is actually 25, so I got more than what I actually needed. But if you do this, one thing I will probably tell you to do, if we can see under here, is to get you some cutoff valves. So that right there would be your return line going up to the tank, and this one right here is your forward going to the bottom of the tank. And you will notice that I did not replace this line right here. It's not soaked. It's going to be very difficult to get way back in there, so I decided to keep it. But everything else from here and on the return line's all been replaced. What you'll have to do is, to do this project, you will have to take this off. You'll have to take your hood off. I had bolts. I lost one, and I wound up just replacing them with screws because the threads fit. You'll remove these two bolts here and two on the other side. You'll need to remove this. You'll start out here by getting a steering wheel puller. I did not have one, so I had to buy one. And when you buy one, I actually tried to borrow my neighbor's. It was too big. You will need something probably like this. Fairly easy to do. There's some YouTube videos that'll explain how to use that if you don't know how. Once you get the steering wheel off, then you'll pop this cover off. It's a little difficult, but it does come up. And then you'll be able, and then you also need to take this off. This will pull up. The only reason you'll want to pull the floor off is because when you put this all back together, this bar for the park brake goes down here, and it is a pain in the butt to try to get this back in. You'll want to remove this floor so you can kind of get up under here where you can get a hold of it. to bring it back into here. You'll mount it back up here to the bracket right there. I did not take the floor off. I wound up using a wire and reaching my hand through this while this was not screwed on, but it was extremely difficult. I bet you I spent probably over 2 hours just to get this was the hardest part of the job. Your fuel pump is right here. So when you buy your hose, buy about 10 new clamps or more, 10 or 12, give or take. And you'll just follow it exactly how it goes. You've got one fuel line right there, and you've got one right there. If you'll notice, I got some sheathing, rubber sheathing to go around this and in some other places to keep that rubber hose from vibrating and wearing out sooner. So I would advise, if you go with just a standard rubber hose, you're going to want to find some sort of sheathing, something to go around it just to keep it, because these little tractors, or any tractor that I know of, vibrates pretty hard, and you're going to want something in some places where it won't wear out. Why my old line wore out, I have no idea. I was kind of disappointed at 450 hours I had to replace all the fuel lines. The reason why I wanted to go with a rubber fuel line is, if I did get a puncture in it, there'd be a better likely chance of me finding it and being able to make a quick repair, get me back to mowing grass or whatever I'm doing, instead of having to do an entire project. I mean, my position would be, if I did find something like that, splice it back, and then once I get to a point to where I'm not using the tractor that much, yes, I might go ahead and replace the entire line. But with the braided stuff, I obviously didn't find it to be better, because 6 years, 450 hours, you know, it could have been a branch that punctured it. I don't know. I just know it failed, kind of, in my opinion, early in its life. But the manual actually says to replace these fuel lines about every 2 years. And I find that odd. I don't know if all manufacturers say that or not. I have no idea. But it is just a thought. But in a nutshell, it's not too bad, but I will admit, you'll also need to remove this wheel. You'll want to remove this so you can get up in here. That is just something you'll have to do. But like I said, the biggest thing is, even though you're probably not going to want to take the floor off, just take the floor off. 8 bolts can't be that bad. If you don't, you'll be like me and be stuck for hours trying to get that stupid part brake back in. But anyways, guys, that's all I was going to cover on this. Hopefully I don't have to make any more major repairs to this thing for a while. I apologize for not having a video actually showing me doing it, but it's just hard. I don't have any kind of real good video. I just figured I'd have a little walk through about what I did to do it. But anyways, guys, take care. God bless.